Hi there.
Tyler, Keith, plugged on. We're here with a episode review of Dragonstone, which is the season 7 premiere of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones finally returns. You know,
after over a year of a break, because
took a little bit longer than usual. I mean, usually it starts like March, April, but
you know, winter has come, so it actually has to be cold when they film.
Exactly. So, this is the first episode in a shortened season. Only getting 7 episodes.
The last 2 are a little bit longer, right?
Yeah.
But still,
you know, when you have a show as high of quality as Game of Thrones, you want as much as you can get, you know. But anyways, so the first, and this is going to be spoiler filled.
Oh yeah, there's not. TV is a lot harder to just not talk spoilers.
Yeah. So I mean, if you want to watch this but you haven't seen the episode, go watch the episode and come back. It's fine. It starts off with Walter Frey,
which is surprising.
Yeah, and you're like, what? Because of how season 6 ended for him, and you know he's giving a speech and everything, and slowly but surely you start to realize, and you probably made that connection right away that it's Arya, but you start to realize just in little small things that it's definitely Arya, and she kills pretty much all the Freys in the room.
all the men anyway. She saves the women.
Yeah, and I love the way when, you know, she finally revealed that it was her, and she's like, tell them that the North remembers, and that winter has come for the Freys, and it's like, that's just a badass way to start season 7.
Yeah, it's also not like the obvious way to start season 7. You know, me included. Well, no, I figured they would have done the whole Dany showing up at Dragonstone thing last, but I figured they would have started right off, like right where the whole King of the North thing ended, and that's where they did right after that. Actually, no, they showed off Bran first.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And him showing up at the wall, him and Mira.
Yeah.
So, but then
yeah. Well, before they showed Bran at the wall, they showed the army
of the dead, and it's and
it's huge.
And I assumed this, but then they had like a bunch of dead giants. I'm like, oh right, shit.
Yeah, and I loved how they did that, where you know it's not really doing much. The camera doesn't move at all, but it slowly starts to like kind of pan up as they're walking towards, and it's like.
I love the part before that, even where it's just like the smoke.
Yeah,
and then it's like. You see, and it's like you see a figure, and it's like, well, okay, who is it? I mean, I assumed it's the Night King, but it's like, and then you kind of catch it. I'm like,
and it's like, to me, every time they do such a good job with the Night King moments in the Army of the Dead and everything, because you know, so far up to this point, they haven't been in the show a terrible amount. But when they are there, it is like such a powerful and just kind of commanding thing, and it makes me, at least, like when I watch like Hard Home for the first time or whatever, I'm like, none of this shit matters down below the wall because of this type of thing. And that just, you know, minute or two that they were on screen, it just gave me that feeling of like nothing matters at a certain point, because this, like John always says, like the true enemy is to the north, and I feel like that'll be true, but it'll be, and gets to a scene later between Sansa and Jon where Sansa's trying to convince Jon that Cersei's a pretty bad person too,
but it's like,
and you have to worry about that, and it'll be interesting how both of these things come together, if they do at all.
If they do, I mean, there are, which I'll after I mention this, I'll mention that to take this with a very large grain of salt. Which is, I mean, you know, there was rumors and all kinds of stuff going on about stuff that was supposed to happen. So supposedly, one of these supposed scenes was supposed to be basically like everybody's wish list of a scene. Everybody meets up at King's Landing to talk about what's happening up north, like, and to talk about that. But on Jimmy Kimmel, of all places, a couple of days ago, Kit Harington came out and said that they filmed a bunch of fake scenes to throw people off. And he's like, I've been a part of 3 fake scenes. And so I'm like, that one to me seems the most obvious. Just of course, the scene where you've put everybody in the same room, like, yeah, that's...
Yeah.
I suspect that's not true, but, like, who knows? There could be all kinds of shit that happens.
Yeah.
To me, that the whole, like, 1.5, 2-minute scene where with the White Walkers, honestly, I felt like that was an even bigger presence than, honestly, anything with them last season. Last season, they kind of fell to the wayside. I mean, they were part of Bran's story, but last season, like, I think maybe did them a little bit of an injustice simply because last season just painted both Cersei and Ramsay as, like, the 2 biggest villains of Game of Thrones. And which, sure, they kind of earned that right. But it's like, but this is, as you said, this is what matters. Mm-hmm. Like, everything else doesn't matter. And so,
and there was some really good scenes where Jon, was trying to lead everybody at Winterfell to get everybody prepared for battle, and there was a very almost awkward to watch moment between Jon and Sansa where, Sansa's trying to say that we need to give there needs to be new families running the places where the Karstarks were and all that stuff, and because they betrayed the Starks and all that stuff, and Jon's like, no. And it'll be interesting to see where their relationship goes, because at the end of last season they were like, yeah, we got to work together type of thing, but now they seem to be a little bit going at each other, and just they want to go about things a little bit differently, and also Sansa just wants to have a little bit more input, I guess. I mean, also, like, how much does Littlefinger just kind of get in her ear and just keep fucking with her mind?
I mean, she wants to rule the North. Yeah, that was basically set last season. Almost blatantly said last season. So I'm curious too, because there's all kind. That's the great thing about Game of Thrones, is that it's such an unpredictable show. There's so many different avenues, and honestly, if each avenue is like radically different from the last. So it's like, what if somehow they betray Jon, and he gets kicked out and he's no longer King of the North, and then it's like, well, that probably means the White Walkers are going to take Winterfell and things like that. It's like, or do they figure out that Littlefinger's not, really being much of a helpful, and they take care of him? Mm-hmm. Who knows? The whole scene where he's vouching that he's not going to punish the sons for the sins of their fathers. I think that's gonna, if it does happen, that's gonna be a very key mindset going into if Jon and Dany meet up this season at all. The whole, because both of them think that their fathers are terrible people. Mm-hmm. Because as far as I'm aware, Dany doesn't know that her dad, basically boiled, was it Brandon or Rickon Stark alive, and then so she thinks that Ned Stark just helped kill her father and whatever, and then Jon knows about what happened to his grandfather. So it's like, I feel that'll be a big point, hopefully, later on. Yeah. So it could be cool.
Yeah, definitely. What, did you have something else to say there?
Not really. That was about it.
Let's see, what else happened? I'm trying to just think of the order of things. Oh, Cersei, Jaime, finally kind of talking to each other, because Jaime came back towards the end there in season 6, where Cersei's now on the throne, Tommen's dead, the Sept's destroyed. So, and I felt like, trying to just think how I put it, like, what Jaime was trying to convince Cersei to do, he's making a lot of sense, and you can also see it from Cersei's angle too, of like, well, Jaime wants to acknowledged, like, yeah, all of our children are dead. Let's just take a moment. And she's like, no, fuck this shit. Like, we're the only ones that matter, pretty much. But then he also brought up great points of, like, there's not a lot of people left to help them out because they have just...
They've alienated everybody.
Yeah, alienated. That's a great way to put it. Like, nobody likes the Lannisters at all.
No.
It'll be interesting to see them trying to convince anybody, and then Euron and his part of the Iron Fleet show up, which was a pretty cool scene. Euron's a very interesting character, and his proposal to Cersei was interesting.
I chuckle a little bit. It's like oh,
basically the Iron Fleet for marriage type of thing. And,
it's okay though. He has 2 working hands. Yeah. That line, I'm like, oh damn, you're not winning anybody over with that.
No, there was a lot of things he said that I'm like, maybe you could convince them if you didn't say it that stuff way. Like this. Yeah, that was a great moment.
I'm curious because he says like, "Oh, I'll bring you a prize." You know what I mean? That's how you win the way to a lady's heart. I wonder if that's like Tyrion's head. That's the obvious one, or supposedly I haven't read the books, but I've looked up a lot of stuff because I've been curious. Supposedly he has Dragon Binder, the horn, so maybe he's gonna bring her a dragon. There supposedly is a big ship battle, which I would immediately assume involves him and his fleet. So at least the trailer says this much. So who knows, man? That could again that's an interesting thing. I mean, that's the obvious. Like, yeah, of course, Cersei and Euron are going to get together. I mean, they both have a common enemy in a lot of ways. But like I said, a lot of places where this can go in the future. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm just curious to see if they can convince anybody else to come to their side.
I mean,
if and when, pretty much, Daenerys shows up to King's Landing trying to take it, like, who will be there to back up the Lannisters,
Wildfire.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the answer.
But, yeah, those are great scenes though between Cersei and Jaime. I think that if I had to pick like which 2 I really like from them, I just like when those 2 get in a room and they talk to each other and they just kind of go at each other. Like, it's so, their relationship is so weird sometimes, and
it's so weird. And I heard a thing earlier which was somebody thinks this could be supposed foreshadowing, which is Cersei has a map of, which I guess is fresh. I didn't know that they set up in the scene that it's like a freshly painted map of Westeros, and her and Jaime are both standing in areas, and she's standing at the area of Westeros that is called the Neck, and Jaime's standing right next to the area that's called the Fingers. And I mean, it's prophesized that her little brother is gonna strangle her to death, and technically she's older than Jaime by a couple minutes, so
yeah, never know.
Now then again, he only has 1 working hand, so I mean, I don't know how they're gonna work that out, but
yeah,
who knows?
Who knows? We got some really potentially my favorite moments of the episode with the Hound. The Hound and Beric Dondarrion and all those guys. They end up arriving to the place where the Hound left this family to starve to death, which I thought was really cool. And then later, he ends up like burying them and all kinds of stuff. Probably, like, I did not expect anything like that.
Yeah, definitely.
To happen, especially like in the season opener, but even really at all, and for them to come back to this location. But I think it is such a smart thing for them to do, and it honestly hits you a little bit more too, because it just shows like how much he's changed.
Yeah,
as a character in his thought process behind things, and just fantastic moments there.
Yeah, the whole thing, even the parts where Thoros calls him over. He's talking to Beric, and they're arguing about what their purpose is right now. Mm-hmm. And then Thoros calls him over to the fire, and he sees
Yeah.
I don't know what the castle's name is, but he sees the last castle on the wall next to the sea and a mountain and the army of the dead, and it's like, you know, they talked about it in the interviews after the episode where he's like, you know, he hates religion, but it's like, but he's seen things that he can't explain, and I wonder if that might have anything to do because, you know, him and Jamie I think have had two of the more interesting character arcs because they're both characters that like season 1 and even season 2 you don't like. Mm-hmm. They're assholes. And then it's like, whereas Jamie has gone a long way, and I think Jamie's actually become one of my favorite characters on the show. Yeah. The Hound's, you know, and he did it a little bit last season, still hasn't really paid penance for some of the things that he's done, and I felt like this was a great moment to really, again, like you said, show that he's not the same person he was 4 seasons ago when he did leave this family to die.
Yeah, because at the time, you know, watching that go down a few seasons ago, and you know, you kind of just go along with it, like, man, it really sucks what they did to that family, but you know, it's something. It happened. It's Game of Thrones. It's an awful world, and now they're circling back to it, which I didn't expect, and that was just fantastic. I'm very curious and excited to see where his storyline goes with those guys.
I mean, supposedly all of them end up with Jon fighting up north, which will be cool. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be a cool moment when that eventually happens. I assume that's not going to be until the last or second to last episode. I would immediately assume, but
then we got some nice moments with Sam as well. Sam is in Old Town, trying to be the next Maester for the Night's Watch, and doesn't seem like it's going as planned.
No.
Because he's cleaning up a lot of shit and feeding people and doing very gross things.
There's a lot of poop. There's a lot of poop.
Yeah. And at one point he's helping somebody out, like do some like autopsy type of shit.
Like one of the Archmaesters.
Yeah, and he convinces this person, well, not really convinces, but you know, tells them like, hey, I need to get into a certain area to really do what I need to do because I've seen the White Walkers and stuff. I thought that was a good moment because the guy believed him. Sam's like, well, you're the only one that's really believed me, you know, that type of thing. And then he finally gets in there and through reading discovers there's a bunch of dragon glass underneath Dragonstone.
Yeah.
He's like, I gotta tell Jon.
John's not at the wall anymore.
where he thought he was.
John's not at the wall anymore.
It'll be very cool to see where that goes.
Yeah, because there was a lot of cool things. So like the Archmaester he's talking to, which, side note, is I don't know the actor's name. He plays Slughorn in the Harry Potter movies, which is like the 10th Harry Potter actor to be in Game of Thrones. There's a lot of them, which is cool. It's like I always say, you make it as a British actor if you've been in Game of Thrones or Harry Potter. And if you're really special, you get to be in both. Mm-hmm. But, because, like, he talks, and really, I've understood, but I've always had a hard time really grasping the point of the Maesters.
Yeah.
And he kind of sums it up very nicely. That's like, you know, they're like dogs who don't remember past their last meal, and they don't worry about past their next meal. And it's like, and it was a cool moment, but he also kind of justifies his point of view, in which he's not really wrong. He says, you know, when Robert's Rebellion happened, everybody thought it was the end. When Aegon came and conquered Westeros, everybody thought it was the end. When the Long Night happened thousands of years ago, they thought it was the end. And so that's why he turns Sam down initially. It's like everybody thinks it's the end, but it hasn't been yet.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's, you know, people do things to stop it from being the end, especially in the Long Night. So I thought, like, that scene was very, very well done. It was a cool scene. And then there's a little, like, a taster of a moment involving Jorah, who I guess is seeking treatment in Old Town. That's what I immediately assumed for his grayscale, which his arm looks fucked up.
Yeah. That I was not expecting to.
Yeah, I wonder.
See that.
I wonder because I mean they're going that whole route with him. I wonder if because I know it happens, maybe not in the books, but I know it's probably referenced and happened. It's happened in the history of Westeros. If like he's gonna encounter like a red priest and they're gonna give him like a magic arm because his arm's all messed up. That'd be cool. I mean, I I mean that there's got to be a reason that him and Sam are together. That's not a coincidence, you know.
Like, where does that go?
I mean, like I immediately then I think that also adds credence to the whole thing that of John and Danny eventually meeting up this season. You know,
Ooh, yeah,
because like there's like there's you know,
yeah.
So, you know, I'm trying to remember the word symmetry, not symmetry, foreshadow. No, illusion. That's what I'm going for. I'm trying to remember the word. There's like a good term for that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool.
And then the episode ended with...
Well, there's one other thing. It's a little thing. The other thing with Arya, where she runs into people.
Oh, yeah. That's
Which
right.
is, it's a small scene, but I think it's to set it up. She runs into a bunch of soldiers. One of them's Ed Sheeran, which I was like,
yeah,
cool, why not? And she kind of meets up with them, and I wonder if it's... Because she says she's going south, which I wasn't expecting. I was expecting her to head north.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is going to humanize her in a way, because I mean, in some ways, she's kind of gotten cold, you know, because these look like Lannister soldiers. They do, or at least because they never outwardly say who they're with, but it definitely the armor kind of looks like it, and the red cape kind of throws it away too. But like, what if that's gonna like make her like, you know, I need to go north. I need to be with my family, because you know. Because she's, no matter what, you're going to end up bonding with these people while you're there, and it's going to be a thing. And then she tells them that she's going to go kill the queen, but nobody takes her seriously because, you know, she's a girl.
Yeah.
But it's like, you don't understand. You don't understand what just happened.
Exactly.
So.
And I don't think, too, that the Lannisters know who killed Walter Frey.
No, because they talk about it.
Yeah, because they just mentioned, like, and whoever killed the Freys. Blah, blah, blah.
They're not a friend of us.
So she's still... secretive.
Because it's another one of those things where it's like, I'm 100% convinced that if Arya continues to go south, she's going to die this season.
Maybe.
I mean, you know, she'll be there at the wrong place at the wrong time, and then, you know, if Dany does eventually make it to King's Landing this season, you know, she'll probably try to kill Cersei and then, you know, get caught in the crossfire or whatever. So,
yeah.
This is a theory.
Mm. And then, finally... Daenerys shows up to Dragonstone to get her home back.
It's a really cool
there's
scene.
nobody fucking there.
There's nobody there. I mean, there's probably townspeople, but... You know.
I mean, it was really cool because they did it all without saying anything. Like, there's no dialogue really at all, and, you know...
Until the very end.
Yeah.
Which is like...
And the journey up to there was just fantastic.
And there's just all kinds of cool things about it. There's... Which is like maybe again some very telling things into Dany's character. You know, she kind of just puts her hand on the ground, and it's like it's her first time ever being home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody's kind of hanging back from her, nobody's talking, and I thought, which is something that I don't know if they did it on purpose. I thought it was kind of telling that she stares at like the dragon glass throne for a while, but then just ignores it because that's not the prize.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you know they get to the table, and then you know, shall we begin? And that's. Yep. Boom! How it ends. That was very cool.
Yeah, it was a great moment, and then, I mean, it took a while to get there.
Yeah,
you know, I figured they would end with her actually showing up, but like,
I figured there would be something else.
Something in between,
like you know. They're them on a ship or something.
Yeah, but you know, it gets to that thing that especially last season they've gotten to of like they really don't want to waste a lot of time, and like. Having a scene of her just sailing on a ship and having some dialogue, man, like how much would that serve, if at all? I mean, maybe it could, but I think her and everybody else's like facial expressions and all that stuff when they arrived at Dragonstone said a lot, and you know the journey up to the table and everything said a lot too. So
I feel like they did a lot of the pacing and whatnot. This episode was very purposeful because you did spend a lot of time with the Hound. Yeah. I feel like you spent the most time with him, and I think that's probably because you know they're going to be spend a lot of time with Jon and Sansa and Tyrion and Dany. You know, you're going to spend, so they kind of got a little bit pushed to the back this episode.
It was a little bit of a slower paced episode compared to last season, which I appreciate, because I'm sure they said things happen very quickly this season. I'm sure things will really start to ramp up as the wheels start turning everything, and to just kind of slowly ease into some things, but have great moments with them too. I thought it was a pretty good season.
That's the thing. I'm a little bit more on the fence with that because the slower episodes are nice because that's one thing you definitely could say about season 6 is that season 6 kind of goes quickly. But I think season 6 also goes quickly because storylines, a lot of the sub storylines get wrapped up very quickly. Mm-hmm. Like the whole thing with Bran's only like 3 episodes, and Dorn is like not even 2 episodes. Yeah. Like a lot of the extra stuff gets wrapped up and it's done. But like, so that's cool that this is slower. But then at the same time, it's like you're gonna slam a lot of shit into 6 episodes, and it's like this episode's really cool. I hope that making this one particularly slower doesn't somehow hurt the other 6.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
It's not like the greatest season opener to anything, and I think Game of Thrones has probably had better season openers. Yeah. But I thought it was entertaining, and I thought there was some great moments, between the certain characters and all that stuff, and I'm excited. I'm very excited for where this will go.
Yeah, definitely, because it's like I'm curious as to like something has to get. I feel as though with only, even though they are supposedly super long, with only 6 episodes in season 8, like something has to get resolved this season. Mm-hmm. But then again, like I kind of said, like if one thing gets resolved, something else like is completely different. Like if they deal with Littlefinger, then it's like, well, shit, that means there's going to be big shit going on next thing. If somehow they deal with the White Walkers, even though I highly doubt that issue will be ended, this season, then there's going to be a big thing. If they kill Cersei, then it's like, man, they're going to be doing a lot with the White Walkers next season. Like, it's just like every avenue is super different. Or like, even if they go, some people think that Dany's going to be the villain. You know what I mean? And it's like, crap, how's, what?
Yeah. That's the thing that's exciting about Game of Thrones. Like, it can go in so many different directions, but you never know which way, for the most part, it will actually go.
And all of them are believable. It's like, well, shit, this could happen, which is great.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm excited it's back. And I will say, though, like, the scenes with the Hound and everything, where it's winter, I mean, it looked pretty fucking wintry. And I think it adds a little bit to it, not an insane amount, but, it definitely helps with the look and kind of photography of the stuff. So, we'll see where that goes. A whole lot of seeing where things will go. Obviously, because it's the first episode, but I feel like it set some things up, but there's still a lot that needs to happen.
Might as well round it out to a nice even 30 minutes. Any nice do you have any probably nothing big? Any kind of predictions? Anything you think that's gonna happen, small wise? Like I had one, which is like I think instead of Jon going to Dragonstone and meeting up with Dany, because I think he's going to send Davos because, he's been there. And then, like, that whole line of him saying, it doesn't matter whose skeleton sits on the Iron Throne is him trying to convince Dany to Jon's cause and things like that. That's my one major one. And then I think either Littlefinger or Arya's going to die is, like, the big character death of the season in some ways.
Maybe. I think it's potential, and I don't. Maybe it'll happen this season, maybe next season, maybe not at all. I'm just crazy, but the wall comes down.
Oh, I think that's happening at the end of this season. Yeah. That's happening that's going to be one of the final moments of the season. Yeah. Fuck it, end it on a cliffhanger. Why not? Just the wall comes down.
I just think if that happened and they ended with that or something, or left that storyline at that, and it comes down and it's just like a fucking aerial shot of nothing but the army of the dead just kind of going through, and it'll just be kind of like a jaw dropping, I really don't know what to say sort of moment, almost like when Hard Home happened, but I just think to a way bigger degree.
I feel like that has to happen at some point. I don't know. It would just seem weird for all the fighting to take place up north when it seems that, if Bran and Mira made it to the fucking wall already, I would immediately assume that the Army of the Dead is not very far behind. So for them to just kind of stay there, I think that would work. Also, that the Horn of Winter's somewhere out there. What if they find it.
Yeah, who knows?
So, a lot of cool shit.
Yeah, Game of Thrones, Dragonstone, Seasons of 7. It's here. Let us know what you think. See you later.